Hello and welcome everyone. I am Mainak, the community manager at SAWiT, and it's absolutely an honor to host the session today. Thank you for joining us for the fourth webinar in our series AI Cybersecurity in Finance. We are thrilled to have you with us. As AI continues to revolutionize the financial sector, cybersecurity becomes more crucial than ever. From AI generated scams to the rise of deepfakes, the risks are evolving, and it's essential to stay one step ahead to protect your personal and financial assets. We are excited to have with us Priyanka Kamath, the founder of 100 GIGA, who will walk us through the critical aspects of cybersecurity in the age of AI. But that's not all. We are also joined by some special guests from the 100 Giga team who will bring their expertise in AI, cybersecurity, and finance. They will be sharing their insights and perspectives throughout the session, making this an even more valuable discussion. In today's session, Priyanka will cover the rise of deepfakes and their impact on truth and trust, AI driven cyber threats, and how criminals are exploiting this technology, best practices to safeguard your personal and financial information, why cybersecurity is not just an option but a necessity in the financial world. Stay informed, stay secure, and ensure that you have the knowledge to protect yourself in this rapidly changing landscape. We encourage you to ask questions throughout the session. Type them in the chat, and Priyanka will address them later in the Q&A section. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insightful content on how technology and finance intersect the world of cybersecurity. So, let me bring Priyanka onto the stage. Hi,
Hey,
Priyanka.
Amanak. Hi, it's so good to be here in the fourth session of our finance series. And it's been a riveting journey from evolution of money to understanding how NFTs are soon becoming our future. And AI in finance was very well received with the kind of integration we have with UPIs and how we can reduce friction in finance through UPI payments and move on from cashless to digital. And today I think is the most important of them all because just with the sophistication of scammers and the level of advancements in AI, it is increasingly important to understand as an entrepreneur, as a student, as a working professional on how to secure digital systems, how to secure AI systems. So really excited to do this.
Yeah, you can go ahead and share the PPT.
Right. So we'll do something a little bit different today. So
Okay.
what we're going to do is, we'll get a very own Giga. For everyone that was tuning in for the first time, Giga is Girl in Generative AI, and we have 100 of them every cohort who are always working on cutting edge technology, making a breakthrough within their own capacity and making a dent. Right. So we'll have a Giga um, have the narrative told from her own journey of a e-commerce entrepreneur and how maybe perhaps she would need help in cybersecurity. And then we do a foundational delve into what are the different types of cybersecurity attacks? What do you mean by DDoS attacks, ransomware attacks? Which domains are mostly affected by this? How are deepfakes rising? Because it's taking over our lives to a point where you're unable to split the real from the fake. And we will be, of course, joined by Ritik Rajan, who is a cybersecurity expert in understanding how to secure our AI systems, especially with the kind of techniques in real time, through say, SQL injections or through mitigating like, high level traffic or even understanding how like DeepSeek had this vulnerability with like a major data breach of 1 million lines in their SQL database. So how did this happen? So all of that will be pulled into this session today. So without further ado, let's welcome our very own Giga, Divina. Hey, Divina.
Hi, hello. Pleasure to be
Hey.
here. Thank you for having me.
It's fantastic to be joined by Divina again. And we've done some fantastic work in the past year where
Yeah.
we had this, and I think we were the first ones to herald the generative AI cohort right back in January almost 2024, before the boom had taken over. And we built some cutting edge LLMs for the girls in India, especially the 23 million students that are being affected because of lack of infra. We have a Learn AI with AI, which Divina is going to help us even take it further. And that's not all. Divina is an AI engineer herself. She's a student and she is also an e-commerce entrepreneur. I would love for Divina to talk about her own journey, maybe a little bit about your foray into entrepreneurship, Divina.
Yes, absolutely. So I was part of 100 Giga, as mentioned, and something that I started up with some friends on campus was a snacking business, and this was a venture that, frankly speaking, it did fail. It did go in the way that we didn't expect it to. But we learned so much in the process of, actually promoting something that we called initially Oh My Oats. It was like a oat-based healthy eating kind of business in the F&B sector. And we had a lot of popularity on campus. We went from going into word of mouth in from that to an online storefront. And as we go to an e-commerce platform, of course there are a lot of cybersecurity threats and attacks and possibilities there. So being someone who is interested in entrepreneurship and part of 100 Giga as well, something that was really amazing that we looked into was the no-code chatbot. So I built a something called Sahyog, which I created as part of one of these workshops. It's no code, low code, and it means cooperation in Hindi. So it was aimed towards new entrepreneurs and students in India, especially at all age, like all stages of the startups. And of course, when you're very new to it, you don't really know perhaps the available schemes to you in the country. So the external knowledge base of Sahyog was comprised of the documents from Startup India. And so this is really intended on greatly helping, especially young entrepreneurs and people in resource identification. So I'll just briefly walk through a demo of how I would interact with Sahyog and using the profile of a young student. Let's just say someone who wants to start their online jewelry business on an e-commerce based platform. So hop right into it.
Awesome. We are super excited. And the fact that it breaks barriers for anyone who wants to get into AI, it doesn't matter what skill set you come from. It's just the most fascinating part. So over to you, Divina. Take it on. Yeah.
Thank you. I hope this is visible. So, this is Sahyog, your startup journey companion awaits. And so, as you can see from a couple of these prompts, like, can you help me brainstorm startup ideas? You could go right from the very basic ideation stage and actually help it talk you through from, actually coming to what you might want to do, even if you don't really have a very clear idea. For the sake of this session, I'm going to go in with a prompt I've already typed out. So this is the profile of a first-time entrepreneur who's selling handmade jewelry online. And the goal is to secure an e-commerce store while also ensuring financial stability and, of course, protecting consumer data. So this is asking the chatbot to walk them through the process of launching the store, to choosing a platform, securing payments, and implementing the best practices for cybersecurity. So how can they prevent fraud, secure transactions, and manage their finances?
Fantastic. I am sure in a vast country like India, with all the unstructured data, this is one way to have it refined with outputs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Amazing.
So as you can see, Sahir kind of does give you a pretty detailed basic blueprint on how you can go ahead if you're quite confused on exactly where to start. So you can go through the process of actually choosing an e-commerce platform like Shopify or WooCommerce, looking for the features, how to actually secure payments, so using, trusted payment gateways, and implementing best practices. So, data encryption, regular updates, strong passwords, how to prevent fraud, managing your finances, and additional tips. So of course you can go ahead from here and actually, deep dive into, for example, how would I, ensure that my customers, are having like secure finances, or actually going into the payment gateways in particular. Is there any question you would like me to ask, Priyanka? Like anything that?
Um, Yeah, absolutely. How do you, so you can just probably check with the chatbot on how you're securing the e-commerce website. Just, the top three ways to secure. Just basic things would be, having
Yeah.
a HTTPS and those simple protocols. Let's see what the chatbot answers.
Okay. How would I? Um, okay, let's just go with that for now.
Yes. Okay. Fabulous.
Yes.
So, yeah, this is some hardcore cybersecurity stuff. I think it does touch upon everything on how to protect your data ports to save, like, saving your like unauthenticated access, to saving your website's unauthenticated access. So, this is fantastic. I am so proud that, we are living in times where we can harness this information, save tens and thousands of dollars for not hiring an expert, where you can actually, just be informed through these mechanisms. So great going, Divina. And, we've seen in recent times, there have been a lot of deepfake scams also. These have been highly sophisticated, where I remember that there was this incident in Hong Kong that happened with a banker. He was a CEO, and this is such a highly accomplished, tech-savvy CEO sitting in the developed, nations, and the person got duped by his own high-ranking executive officer to actually pass 35 million from the bank to the bank account controlled by
Mm,
scammers, and this was way back in 2015. And we are now looking at advancements where, it's highly difficult to understand who is who. So we will understand through some tracing mechanisms how can we save that also for, the entrepreneurs here, because usually a one woman army, she's juggling. She's probably, having a D2C pipeline. She has to work with different vendors, and you never know which vendor just calls and says, hey, look, the payment is still not done. So those kind of mitigation also we will be addressing today. But this was a great way to get into our next section. So maybe I will take it over from here. But
absolutely.
please do stay on with us if you have more questions. And before we go there, just some quick announcements about GIGAs on Mumbai Tech Week. So there's the most cutting edge conference happening in Mumbai at the Geo World Convention Center. So all the gigas who are heading to Maharashtra, please do go ahead and reach out to Nidika. The info is in your groups, and you would be able to get discounts on the Mumbai Tech Week. Please also note that there are job fairs for the gigas who are looking at bagging that lucrative job. And we are going beyond just being a front end engineer, back end engineer, database engineer, AI engineer. There's also security engineers that are bagging some really lucrative jobs. So do keep a watch out for that in this session, where you will also understand what are the certifications you need, and how can you just 3x to 4x your salary by focusing on a niche like cybersecurity, which is all the more important. especially in the world of finance. It's not just a need, it has to be like a proactive measure versus how we mitigate once it happens. So let's dive right into it. We have a quick way of priming you before the expert comes on. So let's take about 15 minutes to understand what are the different what is the why is everybody fearful about cybersecurity, and how are these different mechanisms actually a threat to our society, and anybody who wants to run a business at an enterprise scale or a consumer scale. So as we go forward, the first, like I touched upon, the Hong Kong CEO case of deepfakes and identity thefts. There have been so many issues in understanding how you basically are able to authenticate this particular user. So you get, the goodness of blockchain, where you are able to engage in a digital ID that is purely on chain and is only attached to this one particular user. And if you are able to get into, say, other authentication processes also, then your multi-factor authentication, your biometrics, advanced security protocol with the combination of all of these is able to help you understand some of these authentication measures. In fact, we've seen in recent times that Sam Altman and his blockchain venture, WorldCoin, also uses the retina for scan to understand how many of the unbanked in Africa are actually getting, say, access to collaterals or access to credit. So there are different ways to understand how you can trace this particular user with the biometrics, multi-factor authentication, and of course, like, putting the data on the chain. Again, public awareness is something that has to come with the education. So understanding, like, critical thinking, media literacy, asking certain questions on the deepfake call, whether you can rule out the false positives, and understand, hey, look, whether this is the actual person you're talking to, especially during high stake negotiations. Again, there are some deep legal frameworks that you can address, where you have penalties that could be applied to these malicious deep fake creation and dissemination. So before we dive into that with our security expert, I would like to firstly even touch base upon why do we need this in today's times, right? Like, it's just a growing threat to our systems in secure digital world, where we have to have an increasingly trustless environment. When I mean trustless, it's like you don't need another cybersecurity expert, or you don't need another application security expert to tell you whether your system is safeguarded or not. Like, it should be a part of your application development process to understand how to mitigate these dangers before it happens, versus being reactive and acting. We are saying, hey, be proactive and work on these strategies, right? So just to go into a little bit of depth with the deepfake controversy that happened, it was technically a phone call that came from a senior executive and incredibly realistic. But what happened there was technically, the AI powered voice cloning technology back in 2015. If it was this sophisticated, imagine how much of a threat it is now. So I believe it was the CFO trying to call the CEO, and then the 35 million goes to the accounts to the scammers. But what is a primary takeaway is that, the weakest link in the chain are always humans. And whenever you have this highly experienced professionals, right, they usually fall into these social engineering and advanced scams, because they usually do not have time, or they are they're probably juggling multiple things. So how do you understand the importance of verification in these scenarios, and how do you actually mitigate them, right? So for that, you have a 5-step way to do this, which is how much we can condense for today. So there is a multi-channel verification, like I was saying, whether it is about having a blockchain ID, which is the only way you could enter the system, or if it's about multi-factor authentication, you have different devices that are talking to each other and only then letting you into the system to transfer your money. Again, like, it could be a combination of both of these. Employee training couldn't be, more emphasized, because it just takes a lot of secure practices to come till that point of application development. So be it whether you are using Brevity is like a real time application security protocol. It's called RASP, which helps you understand the different ways of threat detection, and it's a simple script that can be added to your legacy applications, which are usually under the risk of getting attacked, right? So usually you see these big financial institutions, say JP Morgan, there's Morgan Stanley, there's Wells Fargo. These are all institutional banking, which have been probably there for hundreds of years, correct? And there will be applications which are probably need these kind of constant upgrades and patches, which will help them keep up with the updates, right? Whether it's Java updates or whether it's built on Ruby on Rails, Ruby updates, it definitely needs the kind of security that comes from this RASP technology that you can inject with one single script. And all you need to do is, figure out a downtime for these legacy applications and actually put in there. In most cases, it actually works as a proactive way of securing your AI systems also. So to while we keep up with the latest development in cybersecurity, the biggest news maker that has been was DeepSeek, that was leaking about like 1 million sensitive records. This was posted on Jan 30th, and it was incredible to see that despite the rise, it was topping the charts on the Apple Store, but the complete database set control and the privilege, the escalation within this DeepSeek environment, without requiring authentication for these sensitive records, was something that was baffling. So basically, all of the attention that comes around AI security is usually for like futuristic threats or like the real time dangers, right? So what are the basic risks that you are trying to understand, that will help you with the accidental external exposure? So whatever you saw with DeepSeek was technically an accidental exposure. In fact, I want to ask DeepSeek on what happened with DeepSeek, and figure out like, hey, look, how could this have been prevented? So the key lessons here, this is again DeepSeek talking about DeepSeek. So they had a unauthenticated access. They had exposed ports and services. We need to focus on, despite the multi-factor authentication, the breach that occurred between these databases, because of, there was probably no robust access controls at that point of time. And they did not have the MFA or the role-based authentication. So this is why we were, initially telling that, hey, look, have several steps to which the scammer needs to kind of like figure out, or social engineer to get there. So just having these in place would help you safeguard your AI systems. Again, like, the privileged escalation risk, so that allows these hackers to gain higher level risk access, right? So please make sure whenever you're giving these role based access, it is somebody within a privileged community of your organization that is getting it. And that principle is actually called POLP. It's a privilege. So principle of least privilege was basically like, gets the least kind of reader editor views, but then, auditing permissions and other higher level, you are able to give to a more expertise in cybersecurity. Again, like, what are the different sensitive data that was exposed? I believe it was like 1 million lines of code that was just out there. And it was suggested that this was under the development or testing environments that was compromised. But we've also seen that these things happen in production environments too. um, And for securing that, like, you need to have these kind of robust mechanisms where you are implementing again the strong authentication through MFA, RBACs, and you're putting up firewalls, VPN in place. Usually, these kind of work from home facilities, all of that also ensures a lot of risk, because I've seen people working from airports too, and then you're probably charging your laptop in these airports, and even the charging ports these days are used as a carrier of data. So it's highly recommended that you are working in a firewall, VPN, private network space when you're working on high stake projects. And again, like, encrypting your data couldn't be more of an emphasis, with, again, like, especially me coming from a blockchain background, like having the data blocks mined on chain with validators, mine, like validating every chain and having the authority to actually kick out anybody who is putting probably data poisoning into the particular system. I mean, that kind of a robust environment is what is needed. So I feel we will only get there with the kind of sophistications that blockchain brings in for secure management. Again, regular security audits and pen testing. Pen testing is one of the most lucrative engineering jobs that one can gain. In fact, it forms a core of both the understanding what the vulnerabilities are from an attacker's point of view, replicating that, and actually understanding what the weak links are. Say you're doing a DDoS attack, right? Like, as a pen tester, you are taking a system that is probably been imbibed, like it's basically simulated as your production system, and you behave like a pen tester, try to send heavy levels of traffic to that particular port or the server, and make sure that the system is not collapsing. If it is collapsing, then you know that, hey, look, that is where the weak link is. And how you monitor and log these access, understand how AI can help you generate solutions from there, would be your job. And we will get more into depth of it with our expert who would be joining us in about 2-3 minutes from now. Again, we are just coming to the closure of the DeepSeek incident that happened on 30th Jan. So hardening the development and testing also is really important, correct? So you basically need like the robust environments where there is a development, there is a testing, there is also a pre-prod, as we call, and then the pre-prod acts as a simulation system to understand your weak links for the production environment. So always use dummy data and anonymous data here to understand, like, hey, look, if there are ransomware attacks, how would a ransomware attacker probably come and shut down your system by decrypting the encrypted data and shut down the system in order to, like, probably corrupt the entire database. But you will have to ensure that, like, you have to pay a certain amount of ransom, and only then it opens up and does not corrupt your database. So those are some of the incidents that have happened in the past, unfortunately, for hospital databases, which are usually neglected. And because there is just such low level, what do you call it, like a downtime, right? You don't have a downtime with hospital applications, because you just need to be up and running 24/7. There's just no way. So that is where, like, you educate and train your employees, or you patch and update regularly in a way that you can balance both your downtimes and actually engage in a more robust environment where you're hardening the production systems. So having said that, AI seems like it is a boon and bane. We were talking about the different ways deepfakes are shutting down the systems, or, like, transferring fake accounts, transferring money into fake accounts. But AI also helps you in anomaly detection, automated response, and predictive analysis, where you are able to take your machine learning components and actually run on all these terabytes of data that you have, and analyze what are the unusual patterns that you are seeing that may indicate a breach. Or for automated responses, you are probably like, seeing what are the blocked and suspicious IP addresses that are compromising the systems. Maybe there are old servers that they're just lugging around and you don't need them, and probably no one is noticing, but the hacker has noticed and entered into your production environment through these old servers that are almost dead and about to go. So those kind of automated responses are also important. Again, predictive analysis is where, like, RAS technology comes in. You just need like a script of the Brevity tool that can go into your applications, which will help you in safeguarding. So while we do that, now we've talked about the Hong Kong CEO scam. We've talked about how DeepSeek had a major data breach. We've also talked about the AI systems working as a boon and bane. So now what we're going to do is basically understand the solutions from our expert. So I'm just going to quickly see if we have. Yes, there you are. Hey, Ritik, I am so glad to have you here. And
Yeah.
yes, I hope you were through this entire narrative where we were trying to explore
Mhm.
uh, these different
Yeah. Thanks.
scenarios.
Thanks. Actually, I was there like for 5 to 10 minutes here, and I
Right.
listened to all of those things. I think AI knows
Fabulous.
pretty much all the things that I know already.
Amazing. Yes, you are the right person to be on this particular session. And we are doing a major focus on e commerce because most of the gigas that come, or the South Asian women that come on board, they are usually having this passion to launch an e commerce site, or like, have a side hustle of saying selling handmade jewelry or soaps, or, all of these creative aspects. But with that also comes the responsibility of making sure your site is not duped as an other e-commerce site and somebody else is benefiting off your products, or when you're juggling with different vendors, how to ensure that there's not a deep fake call. So we will get into that one by one, but before that, Ritik, would love to have your introduction. And how did you come into this journey of cybersecurity?
Okay, that's pretty nice. I think my journey is like very interesting, I would say. So, first of all, we'll start with my name. My name is Ritik, and I'm right now serving as lead security engineer at Catalog, that is a Web3 company. But I started in Web2, so I have the whole Web2 knowledge first, and then came into this whole Web3 space. So my journey started when I was in school. So I have an elder brother who was in BTech at that time. So he showed me one program and said, see, this is how a programming language look like, and this is what we do. At that time, like I was really scared. Like, okay, in BTech, like something NASA level thing is happening. So people are writing code and doing a lot of things. So I really got scared. That moment was like you can say a light bulb moment for me, or like game changing for me. After that I started learning this front end thing, like all HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all the basic things. But after that, like I got to know there are like frameworks that helps us to like build very good website in like single load and all those things. Then I went towards Angular. Then I got to know, okay, this is web, there is mobile application also, let's go to mobile application. Then Flutter was at that time a thing. So basically I went through all the development phase. In
Wow.
middle of it, like my first thing that I got is like wherever my search bar is, I can execute code there. So it was like pretty interesting for me. Okay, I can execute code in my own website, but how this thing works? So I literally searched the thing, how can I execute code in search bar? And then I got to know like this, okay, there are XSS attacks and all those things like cross-site scripting where you can literally execute code on user front. And then I got my interest in like cybersecurity. Then
Wow.
I pursued all the certifications that is there in security. Then I thinking, okay, everything is there, what I need to do in security. Then I came to know, okay, tools are already there. You just need to think how you can break the systems. So I think like then there was second light bulb movement. Instead of programming everything and all, you can use tools and use your critical thinking to break systems.
Wow.
That's how I started, and then job happened. Everything like settled into the place. Now I have better picture of like what is actually security and what I used to thought is.
Wow, you touch upon a very good point because yes, until you go and deep dive into hands-on projects, you will not know from the outside what security is. So, for the benefit of all the young students listening in, what are some of the emerging trends in cybersecurity that they need to watch out for if they want to bag that high paying job?
Mhm. I think generally security is very high paying job because companies depending on you to safeguard themselves. It
Yeah.
works literally as an insurance, like how much a good security they can hire, security person they can have, the better chances they won't lose funds in some random acts. So I think like it is generally a high paying job. Uh, what was your second question? Like what to look into, like
What to look
real world,
into? Yeah,
emerging
studying.
world.
Yeah. Is it data
So
poisoning or like what pen testing? What can they actually focus on? That they know the recruiter will definitely at least have a edge. Yeah.
yeah. So I would say like there are some framework that every company follows. At least in Web2, there are like nets, there is OS top 10, there is attack meter. These are some kind of framework that will give you like all the theoretical knowledge that you need, right? And then there are tools. But I will still say the people who will have edge in the interview will be the guys who have like good critical thinking, how to use
Right.
those framework, how to use those tools, and like what you can think extra that a developer or even a tester didn't think of, right? Those kind of thinking will like literally help you. And again, as we are in AI world, AI can think a lot, but anyways like human have more context than them, so you can think better. That's my only thing that I learned over the years. Like the better you can think, the better you can exploit, right? All the tools are there, ChatGPT is there, even DeepSeek is there, or like all kinds of framework is there. You can create your own bot and like just tell them this is what I am thinking, do it. They will do your job, but thinking is still a human job, I would say.
That is true. The innovation part, the thinking part, that nobody can take away from the human. But usually, I've noticed that the hackers are the best programmers, and they have somehow figured out the social engineering aspect to break into the system. So, if you can just touch base upon how does a hacker social engineer, especially in an environment that they don't have access to, right? So, how does this usually happen?
Okay, so in our company, what we say is, even in security domain, what we say is like humans are the weakest link in the security. I mean,
Yes.
like you can code audit everything, you can like prepare test cases, you can set up monitoring alert system, everything you can set up. But humans are like last link where you can't monitor them. You can't see like when they are vulnerable to something or like how they will behave in certain scenarios. So I think like humans at that point are like pretty vulnerable, and like it is unknown also. Let's suppose I got a call and I gave my office credential to some guy. I won't say it in office, but it already happened and no one will know it. Like this already happened. So those kind of
Mm.
things are like really bad. And again, coming to social engineering thing, even as a tech guy, if I get like let's suppose like 100 calls, I will pakka get compromised in one of those calls. I can let's
Wow.
suppose defend against my against like 90 calls that I got, but I can possibly got caught in like one call that I think okay, it is normal. So that is still there. So that's why like humans are the weakest link, right? And one thing that you said is like hackers are the best programmers. I mean, like this is one narrative, and like people who generally take courses of like this cybersecurity thing on YouTube or something, they generally say like you just need to know the basics of programming. But I would say like we are in middle of it. Like we should know more than the basics of programming and not need to be like high level programmer or more than a developer, because like developer at their pace are doing something to give an application a optimized code base. But as an hacker, we just need to understand and execute our code, right? So to execute our code in certain conditions, sometimes be tricky. So we need to know more than basics. That's another.
Fabulous. Yes, and this is where the strategies to implement the kind of you know pro- consumer data protection, or the kind of ways you can say stop from SQL injection attacks, right? So how do we get into building these strategies just on a high level? Say we have a startup founder building probably the most cutting edge app, and it is say like a payments app, right? How do we actually DApp or app, whichever, I believe the first principles will be the same. So what are some strategies that you would like to implement, when you go even before the development phase?
Okay, so I mean, like, we are taking example of e-commerce website, as you said, like there are
Yes,
many students here who do side hustles to like sell something on some websites.
courses.
Yeah,
Yes.
courses, jewelries, anything like any handmade thing. Even like I have one of my friends, she used to like do embroidery and sell it on Instagram.
Oh,
Those all things are there. So first thing that you should consider is like, again, starting from the basics, like we have RBAC, like role-based access controls. So you should not give anyone more privilege that they need. Okay. So start with like very low level privilege. Let's suppose there is a database and you have to give permission to your developer. Okay. And the developer first, like what you will give is like, okay, this is the table. I mean, like a database have multiple tables. So you will first select, okay, these are the table that you are going to work with. First have the read access. Whenever you
Hmm.
find like, okay, you need to have write access, come back to me. I will give you a write access. So this is like least privilege access that you can give. That was read. When it is needed, you gave the right permission. Okay. Let's suppose someday, like, okay, you are having sales and all those things, and you hired some freelancer to like do
Yeah.
the data analysis and tell me like which of my product is doing good, or like where I'm going down these things. So you don't have to like give him read access even for like his lifetime. You can just create, okay, I'm hiring you for 2 days. Here is your credential. That will automatically get expired in like 2 days. So those kind of practices you need to follow just before even the development, like all the privilege escalation and all the access that you need to give to people that will work, that is going to work with you. Then there is something known as risk assessment. Okay, you know the business, like, okay, I'm going to
Hmm.
sell this, and in this business, here are like 2 3 things that is critical to me. Okay,
Right.
first is, let's suppose I don't ever want to lose or leak my user data. That is
Hmm.
like one key point. Second key point is I never want to lose funds in my whole business. No one should like try to attack my website and get their product
Yes.
for free or just for 1 rupee. Let's suppose these are your like critical thing that you want to do it as your risk assessment. You need to find those things. Now, based on that, you will strategize like how you will implement the things that will always make sure these two key features are adhering like in the whole system. So those are like things that you should keep in mind before even development, I would say.
Amazing. Okay, those are some really good ways to do it actionable implementation, right? Like, it doesn't need a education barrier per se. Like, we can go ahead and do this automatically. But say somebody is sitting in, say, the tier two, tier three, and especially with the rise of deepfakes, we want to understand what are the different steps to ensure there's a multi-factor authentication process. There is a way of verifying through IDs, through the role-based authentication, or different ways that we can secure. Um, so maybe if we can touch upon that from a very layman perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, like I just got clicked with a Uber attack that recently happened where Uber got attacked and like all of their access got leaked. So in that scenario, like what happened is like they used to like give their support team to like tenders. So let's suppose Uber is settled in US, they will give tender to India to handle customer support for India. Those kind of things they do. So I think like it was Philippines. So there was two guys who were in support for Uber, like technical support.
Right.
So what happened was they were constantly getting authentication request on their phone. So authentication request in the sense whenever you have
Oh,
seen like you log in Google,
yeah.
then they say like okay, go to your phone and accept it. Yes. So those kind of authentication requests they were like getting it continuously. And as they are aware, like Uber gave like very good awareness about security to their employee. They know it is
Right.
false and all. They did no for like continuously 1 hour. Right. Then someone from Australia called them and said, like, I am from Uber technical team and we are facing a
Oh,
bug that you must be getting like authentication requests repeatedly. You can just give it a yes and it won't pop up again. So at that time, the customer support employee was so frustrated, he just like pressed yes and done. It won't pop up again. But the same click gave access to the attacker, and then like all things happened. So this is what we call as like fatigue attack. Once you are frustrated with that one thing, you are just lost your mind and like you will do the thing that attacker want you to do. Right.
oh, wow. Okay.
So even in that case, like that multi-factor authentication doesn't work. Right.
Got it. But the role-based authentication should work here, right? How did the attacker get privileged permissions?
So they were in the support, so they have like many roles that they shouldn't have, but they have because of the data that they need to access to give support. So they got the things and like they just privilege escalated it. So that is
Oh
like
man.
another domain. Privilege escalation is another domain that we can discuss. It is like whole big topic. So that
Got
is that.
it.
But if you
Got
see
it.
like if you just want to understand like how many types of multi-factor authentication is there, so first one that we always use is like OTPs. Whenever like you put a password, either you will get OTP on emails or OTPs on mobile phones, right? This is like very generic thing that anyone can follow. Anyone who has mobile number or email access can follow it. Then there is like one more thing that is authenticator apps. Sometime like Google asks for it. Okay, go to your phone, press yes, and then select a number. Like this is 32 that is shown in your screen, something like that. So those are like authenticator apps. Until unless you don't go there and do those things, like it won't open. Then there is like one advanced level of security that is like hardware keys. There is a company UB. So what they give is UB keys. Until unless
YubiKey.
those keys are not plugged into your device, none of your password works. So those are like hard level of multi-factor authentication. And then like nowadays, like we are also seeing biometric authentication. Even if you put password, you need to give your fingerprint so that it will fetch pass keys from your browser and then it will do your work. So these kind of multi-factor authentication is there. But again, in the whole scenario, humans are the weakest link as
Yes.
who are already got hacked in this thing even after following like multi-factor authentication. So I mean like
Wow.
humans need to be in picture and in control.
Correct. And you called it a different term because of the frustration of this customer support person. What's it
So
called again? Forte
so we
attack.
call fatigue.
Fatigue attack.
Yes.
Okay, it's the actual fatigue where the customer service doesn't want to answer any more questions. Got it. I think this is where AI is doing a good job. I think they're almost like a $1 trillion business in wiping out all the customer service with AI.
Yeah.
But as we know, this is the era of collaboration, and we ourselves in Dhankanya, are looking forward to integrate with different APIs. Be it Bhashini, which is the government of India's very own LLM with 22 languages, 1600 dialects. So during these API based integrations, like what are some of the security measures we can approach in an enterprise environment where we know that this API that is coming into our production is safeguarded.
Understood. Okay, API is like pretty big topic in itself.
Yeah, we
Okay,
can maybe
so
touch upon like a
yeah,
little. Yeah.
I mean like we'll start with the basics thing, like what an API do. It just like take the user request to the server and like get the server request back, right? In the middle of it, like people can just tamper with the parameters that you are sending from user to server, or even like whatever the server is sending back to website to work properly, right? So first thing here that comes is like always is like DOS attack. People used to hit like thousands of API per second, and like our server went down because like server also have limitations that okay, I can handle 1,000 requests per second or like 10,000 requests per second kind of things. So even like server has some limitation. That is one DOS attack that can happen. Then second kind of attack is like header based attack. You can change headers of the request that you are sending, and server will perform differently based on that. So let's suppose you have some role that is customer. If your server is not properly validating it, someone can send just seller, and like it will be server will behave like a seller. That
Oh
this
wow.
request is coming from a seller, and like you need to behave like seller. So those kind of things are there. So first thing first, what we do is always in enterprise security, we generally have an API gateway. Okay, so API gateway, what it does is it will take care of all the things that is rate limitation, that someone should not hit these APIs so fast, or like let's suppose 50 times per minute kind of things. So that is like rate limiting. Then there is
Got
something known as authorization and authentication. With every API request, users should send their like login token or the session token. We say generally, okay, this is my first login session, and here is my token. So those kind of things will be validated at API gateway level. Then
got it.
all the all the APIs are configured like who can call which API. Let's suppose user will have like slash cart to check their what is their cart, but seller won't have their slash cart. Seller should have their all inventory. Let's suppose, or user should not have the inventory. So these kind of checks will be at like API gateway level, role based thing. Who should have access to which endpoint, right? That is like one thing that we handle at API level. Among all this thing, the very basic thing I think like that we missed is all the requests should be in HTTPS. I mean, like this always happen if you are like on a
Absolutely.
public Wi-Fi and using a HTTP connection, that
Yeah.
your anyone can see, anyone can see your password, anyone can see like what you are buying, anyone can change those data and send it to server. There are like there are like multiple attacks that do this man in the middle attack, which will take your data, change your data, and send it to server. Then same thing while they are sending the response and take. So I mean, like those kind of attacks should be mitigated by this just changing the protocol from HTTP to HTTPS. So all the
Right.
APIs should be hit on HTTPS. Then there is something known as zero trust policy that we implement. So in zero trust policy, what happens is there are like multiple services that is running on backend. One is let's suppose handling your shopping cart, one is handling your authentication, one is handling your
Hmm.
buying process, all those things, and the price calculation and all. So even these services written by the developers, we should not trust each service. Let's suppose what if like the developer who is working on let's suppose user authentication wants their user to buy something for free. So every microservice will have zero trust architecture where even if it is coming from like internal services, it will revalidate everything and then do the process, right?
Okay.
So these are the things that happens at backend to handle an API. Even internally, whatever the calls happening, we should validate it. Now all the things should have an input validation, right? So let's suppose we all know, right? We have price segment of 100 to 500, right? If some item is getting 10 rupees, that means it is malicious. We should not process it. So those kind of things should be input validated. Whatever the parameters we are getting from the user, is it even in our range or in logical range that we should process these requests, right? Those things are also there. Then there
Wow.
is like API that is used for authentications. Let's suppose people are using. Let's suppose I'm Ritik and I have like 10,000 rupees in my XYZ website ka wallet. Okay. Now in that wallet, people know like, okay, I have 10,000 rupees. So we don't even need to have some payment detail of Ritik or something. We'll just get his this xyz.com website access and we'll do it. So in that case, what they will do is like they will just put my username that is R for Ritik that is publicly available, and they try to brute force the whole login page, whether this is the password or not. And all. So in that case, like there should be rate limitation and throttling. Ki, let's suppose if 5 attempts are wrong, the account should be blocked in till 1 hour, like that. So those kind of things also comes under like authentication API security. Yep.
Wow.
And these kind of things
Yes.
you need to check.
Wow, I'm sure you can go on for the next 1 hour also just on APIs, but it's increasingly becoming a API driven world with all kinds of collaboration. So awesome how you've broken it down. But just to your point, where the basic thing about HTTPS, when we go to any banking website, like you type any banking website on Google, like you will first find a malicious link which does not have HTTPS and some fake link that takes you there. In fact, once it happened, I had like some savings account stuff that I wanted to go talk to the bank. They told me to actually open their web app on Chrome, and I just like revolted and said, I'm not opening anything on, Chrome, especially with financial data. So that maybe also you could touch upon, where the browser extensions also have very, they are sensitive to vulnerabilities, and maybe we shouldn't be saving a lot of these sensitive information there. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I mean, like the thing that you said, like if you search any online website and the first link is fake, that is like 100% correct, I would say. Even it is getting like
Especially for
more,
banking, that's is
yeah,
so bizarre.
it is getting more harder because now Google Ads does not even like check it
Yes.
properly. So let's suppose
Yes.
you search online SBI.com and the first result that will be an ad from Google that might have like same URL that you have typed. It can be like sbionline.com. And like
Yes.
it is hard to validate whether it is
Hard to
like
validate.
correct thing or is
Right.
it coming from SBI or some random guy. I mean like
Correct.
this is getting harder and harder as like these things are coming
Yeah.
up. And
And
now
for
we
us who are
also
very tech savvy, right? Imagine
yeah,
somebody in the rural trying to they'll click on the first link that they see, even without seeing whether there's an icon of like that key or the HTTPS, right? It's really sad. Like, how do we ensure the data integrity, provenance? Yeah.
I mean, it's like pretty hard. This only comes with like security awareness. I mean, like you can't do anything else other than this to like prevent all these things. If you put some rules, like they will come up with another rule, another kind of technique to like attack the user or something like that. So it is like pretty hard things to what we say mitigate. Again, the human factor comes in the picture.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's becoming increasingly difficult. But like we said, the decentralized model of protecting these financial systems is something I really would love for everybody to understand. Like, how are blockchain smart contracts being increasingly used in finance, and we are seeing that these different cases of data provenances can be mitigated through blockchain IDs. So if you can shine light on that. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, again, we are going in more deep tech. So, blockchain, I would say for a normal user is like double-edged sword. I mean, it is
Double.
protecting you from many things that is happening on Web2, but it comes with own set of problem. I mean, like what I used to think right now is like a normal guy who is from like rural background, they even find it hard to like just keep their OTP secure. If someone
Yeah.
asks, they should not have told, but they usually tell it, okay, just do this thing for
Yes.
me and get the job done. In blockchain world, there is only one thing that is protecting you is your private key. So everyone will have a wallet and it has a private key. If that private key got leaked, I mean, like your every asset on blockchain will get leaked.
Right.
So I mean, it is like double-edged sword. You just need to protect one thing here, but if you lose it, like you will lose it. Like no one
Everything.
will have the reset private key or something like that. In Web2, we have those things. Okay, we can reset our account and like change password so that it will be logged out from everywhere. And coming to this, all the financial thing, I mean, that is like on point in blockchain right now. Even if you see in news, like Trump is also doing their stuff to like get all the crypto hype and all those things. So I think financially, blockchain is right now making sense. But for a normal user that does not know tech that much, I would say it will still take 3 to 4 years to get all the financial thing in their hand in blockchain.
Got it, got it. But I believe blockchain ID might be the solution for all kinds of at least India centric apps from say DigiLocker integration of our sensitive data like Aadhaar being stored on DigiLocker, or other kind of certificates being stored there. So that one way, like the authentication mechanism through blockchain, I think we are still winning, but there still needs to be a lot of awareness for the Indian audience. The best thing is they don't know that DigiLocker is on blockchain, so it kind of like doesn't add to the complexity. But then, yes, as we keep going through some of the real world examples here, I believe IBM Watson and blockchain are actually integrating the platform to enhance data security. Can you give us more examples where blockchain has increased the data security for some of the
Mhm.
existing apps?
Okay, so I think like data security, I would say is like maybe a not appropriate word to use here. I mean, like
Okay.
blockchain really help in like data integrity.
Hmm.
I mean, like if you say security, sometime security is like compliance of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So the integrity and availability part is there in blockchain. That is like no doubt, but the confidentiality is not. I mean, like everything that is on blockchain is public, and there are some technologies that is like hyperledger fabric and all that is
Yeah.
private blockchain things. Then it will like removing your availability part because it is not available for everyone. It is just like a closed source things that a company is using basically inside. So all CIA trade right now is not available on blockchain. So the data security part is still missing. I mean, like we are coming up with zero knowledge proofs and all those
Yes.
mathematical cryptographical terms that will provide these things all three at once. But right now, I think like those part is missing. But in data integrity, I would say like blockchain is booming. If someone really need to have that data integrity, and let's suppose this the documents that we are uploading in DigiLockers and all, it can literally verify that okay, this is the original document that organization provided to you, and you are holding it in DigiLocker. These kind of questions can easily be handled by blockchain. But is it the case that it is secure on blockchain? That is still missing, I would say.
Got it. The reason why I brought up that is, the data security part comes in through different protocols. Okay, so there's Beacon protocol that the Indian government uses there is Nammayatri in Bangalore where you have the logistics between buyer sellers. Like here, it's between an auto driver and a consumer and their payment transaction. Which is being stored on which is powered through Beacon protocol. So those transactions are on blockchain, and that those transactions are safe through the ID. Again, there's a lot many ways of secure data exchange, but you're right. What we see is mostly data integrity piece coming up. For the data security part, we still have a long way to go. While we are there, just wanted to even understand, like, if there is a way we could do risk assessment of an existing system, to see where the weak links are and how to mitigate those risks for an already existing system.
Mhm. Okay, there are again the frameworks that I told. They provide you more theoretical knowledge, like okay, you have to do this, you have to do this. But those things are like more on policy side. You need to set those policies. But if people are not following those policies inside the company, then those policies are bad. So the best way of risk assessment is like, again, just forget all those frameworks and just
Yeah.
come to your business. Like, this is my business, and these are like 2 3 key points that I want to make sure that these security posture or like security key points should hold in the system no matter what. Right. Taking again the e-commerce example I already told. One is user data, second is payment. Right. Let's suppose you are using like you are handling user data. Then there are like certain standards that you need to follow, GDRP, general data protection, and all those things. Right. You need to just, if you even checkbox those standards, I mean, like, you are 50% secure. Right.
Hmm.
But it is again not 100% secure, because it might be the case your implementation is wrong and something is like there. That is always be there. But that's how you should risk assess that. Like, this is my key point. Let's see what standard is saying, what I am doing. Now, coming to, let's suppose, the payment failure. But let's suppose, like, we want to like not lose fund at any cost. So we hired like best developer or something like that. But even they can make mistake and things might happen. So what we generally do is like go with better tested system that is already there in the market. Let's suppose we will directly integrate Razorpay, Stripe, those kind of services, right? In that case, like, your standard will be automatically met. I mean, like, if you want to grow in a fast pace, then these things will automatically like fit into the puzzle. Okay, directly use someone's system that is already good in their job and just integrate with us. That's it. So I mean, like, those kind of risk assessment basically works on like logical system. All the theories and all those things comes when you are becoming a big corporate. But in like, just you are handling a e-commerce website, you don't need to think like, okay, how my database should look like. If something happens, should I call to my let's suppose this GD SOC 1 complement website. What they do is like, whenever a breach happened, they need to call their stakeholders and tell these things happened, and then do their mitigation part. So you don't need to think all these theories, because of like, you're just an e-commerce website. You just think
Right.
like, what are the logical ways that you can secure the data first. You'll think to be compliant like later stage, when you are like 50% company, when you can't trust each and every employee in your system, or like how the system will getting built at lower levels and all, right. So I think like that's how risk assessment should work.
Wow. Okay, that's quite comprehensive, and we love the structured way of assessing these. Now with AI agents coming in and completely removing humans out of the loop, like how do you track accountability in security when it's only like systems like and then what if AI agents are intelligent enough to actually break through the code? Yeah.
Yep. Makes sense. Like, 100% agree, and we can't even control them at those
Control
point.
it.
Like,
Yeah.
because we just need to give them a prompt, and they will do anything and everything to like just do their job. They won't
Yes.
think whether it is like wrong or right. So I
Right.
mean, like, in that direction, if you see, first I would say like our prompt should be very correct, and all the example that those chat GPT models, or like even our custom models is getting trained, the data should be very carefully chosen to train them. Then, if all these things happen, what we generally do, even like we in our company use AI agents for like small tasks, like that is repetitive and like does not require any intelligence in it. It is just like repetitive task. So what we do is like, if it has to like take something from database, we will again only give read access with that credential to that AI agent, right? So it has
Okay.
like first limited
Yes.
access, and we can identify, okay, this is the user ID that is accessing these things. Here
Hmm.
comes our alerts and monitoring systems. So you gave the task. Now you have to monitor all those things that bot is doing. First, it will
Yes.
generate logs. We should see how the logs are structured. Is it doing something very bad? Let's suppose the bot is trying to run a delete command on DB. Those should not be the case. Like, those are like real anomaly that a bot is doing. Right. So those kind of alerts and monitoring systems should be on place at the first. Then again, least principle is there, and it is role-based thing, and there should be a kill switch between these AI agents and the whole system. If AI agent went rogue
Kill
because of
switch.
n number of reasons,
Hmm.
so we should have a kill switch. Like, okay, now this bot should able not able to do or read, write anything on the system. So those kind of kill switch should also be there, I would say.
Wow.
And
That
I
is a
would,
smart way. Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I mean, like as I'm thinking more, like I'm getting more ideas that even I should implement because
Great. Yeah, this
so
is the first time where the guest is being inspired by their own talk. But no, truly, I think this is definitely one thing we would want to imbibe in going into our agentic AI cohorts. So, for everybody who is tuning in and listening, we have agentic AI cohorts coming up soon. We're talking with a lot of key stakeholders to get the most cutting edge technology. So, there you have heard from Ritik also that you would need mechanisms like kill switch to make sure that the AI agent doesn't go rogue, or just cut the level of permissions that you are giving to the AI agent. And when we actually think of the real time scams that are happening through due to voice cloning technology, right? This is, I think, the biggest AI doom that we are seeing. Especially, I think OpenAI, I believe during the 4.0 release, they had like Scarlett Johansson's voice actually used, but they didn't accept it. But I believe they have a lawsuit now for using somebody's voice. So, what are some of the ways you are able to understand that this is a fabricated voice? Like,
okay.
yeah, can a common person actually identify that?
I mean, like, sometime it is easy, sometime it is like pretty hard even for us also. Like, until unless we don't have the whole technical
Whole
recording, we can't
picture,
see whether
yeah,
it is like changed or like used by AI or something like that. So,
right.
first thing is like you should know the person tone, is what I generally say. Whether the tone is actually matching those things. Like, let's suppose, even if I am saying someone, yes, generally what I say is yups. So if those things are getting matched or not. So these are like some small points that AI won't replicate. It will just take their context. Okay, if someone is saying, asking a question, you should say yes or no. It won't check like you should say yups or nops, something like that. So those are like one, two things that you can check. Then if it is like not generated by very good AI, you will feel that robotic voice somewhat. Even like right now, Alexa and like Google Assistant won't up to that level that you can say, okay, it is like natural language or like it is a human voice kind of thing. So until
Okay.
unless it is like not generated by a very good AI engine, I would say like you can identify slightly that this is a robotic voice, right?
Whoa.
This is like in audio side. Now in video side, I mean like luckily or unluckily, we are not at the point that video is like 100% accurate in terms of whatever AI is generating. Sometimes there is like walking issues, sometimes lips are not matching to the actual audio and all those things. So, right now, getting a video uh, identified that it is generated by AI is easier than the voice. But I mean, like in future, it will be like pretty hard, as I can see like this Sora and all those coming up to ChatGPT is like crazy.
That is so true. I mean, just the micro discrepancies, right? Like you said, if you talk like a human, yups or nops, I'm guessing is a example that you're giving like a
Yeah.
human to see how it's responding, because probably these words are not programmed in its AI powered analysis, right? So
Mhm.
yups or nops can be that anomaly which will throw it off.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, like it depends on person to person. Let's suppose if someone is creating my deepfake, so I generally say like a lot in my words, like in my sentences.
um,
So if someone is creating deepfake, so it will be like something like it will perfect the sentence first and then it will say. But for a human, I say a like a lot. I mean, those things you won't find in a AI deepfake. So those things matters a lot. If you know the person, you can see those small things that is there
hmm,
that is missing in the deepfakes thing right now.
true. True. I know I will never get a deep fake call from you because I know how you speak and I know I can detect it. But yes, coming to the point of updating like your systems regularly, right? Maybe it's a small business and you probably have millions of transactions running every quarter. How do you make sure, like as a business owner trying to do these mostly with a lean team, and how do you update your software regularly? Do you recommend any patches, vulnerability mitigation mechanisms? How do you work with the downtime in such scenarios?
Yup. Actually, it is like very good question for everyone, I would say. Like
Yeah,
whoever not in business or in business want to do
not
something.
in business. Yeah.
So generally, like what happens, there are like two extremes always what I see. So there are some person who always want to use like latest and like most feature-rich version of the product or whatever the services. And there are people who just onboarded on one version and they just want to use the same. They don't want to even update. Even the update is there, keep popping up, like they don't want to do it. I would say like both the extremes are like pretty bad. Because if you take the example, I mean, like last year, what happened is CrowdStrike. So what happened
Yes.
is like that is like pretty big outage for whole world. I mean, like even for flights, banking system, electrical system, everything, like everything got
Hospitals even.
affected. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everything got affected. I mean, like that was a perfect example. You should not be always up to date. So
Mm,
I always recommend my team like just be 2 or 3 version previous to the latest update that you are getting. That is
okay.
fine
That's
because
a
those things are
dangerous advice. I will think about it.
yeah. I mean, like actually it is like middle thing. I will explain like both the scenarios what happened in
Yeah.
like being latest or what happened in like being the oldest. You should be in
Right.
like always up to the latest, but not latest is what we recommend. Because like
Oh,
all the latest software, what happens is like, okay, they are tested by the developer, they are tested even by their security team and everything. Like they do everything that can possibly happen according to them. But those things are like 100 people testing it. Once it comes in market, like 100,000 people are testing it. Then there might be a chance, like one case that those 100 people didn't thought, one of the 100,000 people thought. So I mean, like those things are not
yeah.
perfectly beta tested in the world. So I generally recommend like don't use the exact latest version. Just use like one version behind or like two version behind. But
Okay.
with the asterisk of those versions should not have like publicly exploitable code, right? So what
Right.
happened in like CrowdStrike thing is it is not actually an hack. It is like a bug that happened with like CrowdStrike team. They didn't like publicly make it available what was the bug is. So if you see like their code has null pointer dereference. We will like talk these things later. So that is a one bug that they have. Null pointer dereference. They try to use the memory that was not there actually, and Windows has the protection whatever is running in their kernel mode. So they have like two modes to run an application. One is their user mode and one is their like kernel mode. Kernel mode is like really close to your hardware that can directly
Yes.
talk to your hardware. So the kernel mode is like pretty secure, and even like Microsoft and CrowdStrike Falcon team has the agreement that how these things need to be done. Even like Microsoft has their team who will just test all the things that is going to be run in kernel mode, right? But what happened is like CrowdStrike generally used to push update very frequently because they want
Mm,
to be on the top of the line. Whenever a vulnerability is happening, they should release a patch. So they won't have this time for testing even at their side or even the Microsoft time. If a vulnerability 0 day vulnerability came for the first time, I mean like no one will wait for 7 days to pass through all the tests and like how the things should be deployed, right? So they have this gray area of like playing with the code key. They can directly push the code. So that's what happened. And they tried to access some memory part that was not there. And the kernel mode thought, okay, it is getting rogue. So they just like stop the windows. So the blue screen is not actually the corruption part. Windows is like pretty safe when they go in blue screen mode. So blue screen of death is
The death,
not an
right?
yeah, blue screen
Screen
of
of
death
death.
is not an it is not a error. It is a safety feature given by the Microsoft, because those scenario where like you are playing with the hardware and you are like literally going on missing pointers or like accessing a CPU register that is not there, that can cause more damage than just a blue screen of death. So blue screen of death is like real prevention of further things going on. So that's what happened with like CrowdStrike thing. A single bug that went and like tried to access a wrong memory address, and Windows just prevented it and went into blue screen of death. I mean, like
Wow.
those kind.
Okay,
That's
this
why,
is
like, yeah, that's why like latest technology is not always the best. You can have unknowns there that is not battle tested yet. So try to be on like one or two version behind with asterisk of no common vulnerability should be there.
I know this is the one thing I'm definitely going back and researching for sure, because what you said is like, entirely true, because there was a certain set of users during the CrowdStrike update that did not get affected because they didn't have the latest patch. I forgot which users they are, but like, how do you, like, what do you feel was the main issue there? Was it like they didn't have the diversification of security tools, or like, there was, I think, one Falcon update which actually caused this, and technically that was owned by CrowdStrike and not
Yeah,
Microsoft. So
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
like that's what happened. The Falcon update that I was talking about, they run in their kernel mode, Windows kernel mode, and Windows has the prevention of like not doing all this dangling pointers or like
right,
accessing a memory that is not there, those kind of things. So that's what happened.
that's
And
what.
coming to like this, what I'm saying is key, stay one or two version behind. We generally use one more concept of surface attack
Yes,
surface basically. So we need to control our attack surface. We need to know what are the systems that we are using, how many systems we are running it on, like how they are isolated from each other. Let's suppose if one system got compromised, second system should not be compromised because of that one system. Those things comes under like attack surface thing. We need to like manage all our infrastructure, should know like which versions we are running right now and all, and should get all the latest news about those things. I mean, there are like some good websites that do it. One famous one is the Hacker News. I mean, like everyone should follow it for the all the latest update. They explain it in like very layman language, like whatever is happening in the security world.
you said it. I mean, this particular CrowdStrike incident, some billions of dollars, I believe it was 15 billions on one single day. And it could have been prevented if the systems were hardened, I want to say, because I think when you're hardening the system, it doesn't affect the kernel layer, right? Like your kernel is protected. So
Okay.
um, we would like to learn more on how it could have been prevented.
Okay. I mean, like there is no way of prevention other than not updating that, installing that update. Basically, like
Sorry.
this that in that particular scenario, CrowdStrike is the one who is supposed to be protecting you from all the vulnerabilities. It is just that they have the bug and they have all the access to the system. They got corrupted. They corrupted the system. So in
Oh my
that
God.
particular scenario, they didn't have, but generally like these kind of system, like CrowdStrike, or even if you take like normal example of personal computers and all, like antiviruses are there to prevent all these things. I mean, they also like run in the kernel mode and see if some another application is doing these kind of things, trying to overwrite some memory or something like that. So they can prevent those things. But if they itself got wrong, I mean, like then system gets into like safe mode and shut down all the kernel mode thing, and you need to like just restart the system in safe mode and remove all the things that happened because of the software that already there for protection. You can remove those files and like again run into your system normally.
Got it. Wow, these are some really great pointers on how to get started on cybersecurity. And especially for students who are listening out there, this is like new levels of knowledge that they don't think when building application, especially during hackathons. No one is talking about these. So this is our main attempt to get the cutting edge technology which is out there. In fact, Microsoft Defender is one of the most used tools. If you could recommend some of the tools that our students can learn, I know most of these require licenses. We are trying to see how to get more, like approachable tools. Anything you recommend as a conclusion, Riti?
Okay, I would say for learning path, all this thing that we told is coming from more enterprise side of thing. But first, we need to learn from the basics. So I would
Yeah.
say all the students should go through the courses that are on YouTube. All of them are like pretty good, I would say. Even if you see a wrong video, it doesn't cost you anything. It's just like 5 minutes of your time, but you get something out of it. That is for sure. So that is one thing. And there are like some security certifications that are there. I won't say if you are not financially well, go for those certification, but go for their course content. They are like pretty well structured. They will let you know like what are the minute things that you need to think about a product or like application, how they work, how a protocol will work. These kind of things they will teach you. I mean, like certification is just for eligibility for the job. Sometimes you don't need the eligibility. You can just like show your skills on social media, or you post like regular things on LinkedIn. I mean, like there are recruiters that will actually get to you and like just get you the job. So I would still recommend like go to the course content, whichever like leading to those certification. Initial certifications are like CES, that is by EC councils. I mean, like that does not hold that much value right now. So just go with the course content and then look for the OSCP that is like given by Offensive Security. OSCP
Right.
is like Offensive Security Cyber Professional. That they say is entry level certification, but I would say it is not. It is like more than entry level. So you need to like practice at least like 6 months of thing to just crack that exam. Those exam is worthy of cracking, but not the entry level exam. For entry level exam, you can just have the knowledge and like go through those mid level exams, I would say.
Got it. Superb information. And just finally asking you about Cisco-related network security, which is probably one of the most like the first step to get into cybersecurity. I usually see folks getting the Cisco certification. So,
Mhm.
what can be a starting step there?
Okay. So I would say like networking is really important in terms of like security, because you really need to understand like when you are typing facebook.com on your browser, how it is going to the server and coming back. All those things
Yeah.
should be like pretty clear in your mind. So Cisco has this CCNA certification. You can again read through their course content, but not really needed to like crack the certification. If you can do that, is like always cherry on the cake. But if you can't do like for n number of reasons, that is fine. But go through the course content itself. For the basic networking, I would say the BTech curriculum in the colleges are like pretty good. They will like uh, teach you enough networking that you need to go in a cybersecurity field. And networking is a field that didn't change over for like last, I would say 40 years. It is same. Whatever the concept made in like back 80s is still working right now.
Wow.
80s, 90s or 2000, like still working. They are so robust and so
Wow.
logically fulfilled, like it is still working. And all this technology like which is coming, like suppose Node.js and all, they are keep updating, but the networking underlying is still the same. Like you can just go through it from your college and that will be enough for cybersecurity, I would say.
Wow, these are such helpful, nuggets that we can take and structure our career. Again, to everyone listening, we're almost at the end of our session. The idea is to bring you different career paths that can take you to the next level of trajectory, especially in times like, we have everybody running after that lucrative AI engineer, but you just add a specialized skill of security, and you will be like, people will be chasing you versus the other way around. And especially for the girls and women listening, we are only 20% of representatives here in the field of cybersecurity. We need more girls and women. So, when you don't have anyone around you, you be that example and give people a path to follow you. So, that is what we want to bring about with these sessions again. So, we want to thank Ritik for his excellent expertise, not only in security, but also giving us a good foray on how Web3, how blockchain is also a key parameter in securing our systems, how AI, voice technology has been altering our lives, and robust ways of mitigating these risks, right? So thank you so much, Ritik. And we hope to have some more sessions like these. Just want to conclude with the fact that a shout out to SAWiT. They are doing a great job in bringing 10 million women in tech to the horizon, and these are every range. I basically am focused from 16 to 21 years, but we are expanding our horizons with SAWiT and also getting returnship mothers, women just returning back to career and paving ways to, take them to the next level of technology and keeping up with the advancements. So, having said that, would love to hand it over to Mainak. Hi, Mainak, are you here? If you had the AV for SAWiT, more than happy to. Over to you.
Thanks, Ritik, for joining and sharing your great insights. And thanks, Priyanka, for hosting it. And Ritik, we would love to have you in another sessions also with Priyanka. And yeah, so we can close it today.
Yep.
Great.
I think like it was good
Thanks
for me also.
everyone for
Like,
joining.
Thank you,
thanks.
everyone.
Yes,
Bye. See
Thanks.
you.
Bye. It was good
fabulous.
session.
Thanks, Ruti. Thanks, Mana. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.